Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sure it hasn't been that long since you were last here for the 3rd anniversary stuff for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. But because it's coming up very soon, today's video is going to be another Should You Pull video, but this one is going to be for Divine Diabolos' banners. Now this is going to feature a massive rework for Ramza, as well as his LD and burst weapons, but it's also going to feature a recurrence of Machina's LD weapon, as well as the LD boards and LD calls that are brand new to the game, coming with those characters as well. So if that's all stuff that you guys are interested in and want to get on board with all the hype starting to kick off the 3rd anniversary, then as always, stay tuned and keep on watching. As with all of my videos, don't forget to check out all of the social media links in the description box below, including Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Patreon. On Twitch, obviously, I'm going to be streaming a lot of Diabolos in the near future because I'm going to want to try and max his boards out as soon as physically possible so that you guys can come and join in and play around while we all farm Diabolos together. We'll do our pulls for Ramza all together if we need to, etc. And it will be a really good fun time, so I encourage you to hit that follow button on my Twitch channel by hitting the link in the description box below. On Patreon, obviously, I shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video or series of videos, and in this particular video, that person is going to be Bunny Crazed Gamer, who is obviously with the Y in there, a man after my own heart. So, but if you would like a title card just like Bunny Crazed Gamer here has, as well as other benefits such as voice chats with myself and being a part of the Would You Pull portions of my videos, then of course you are more than welcome to have a look at the link for my Patreon in the description box below. Don't forget to check out all of the other resources there are out there for Dissidia, including all the websites I have that are all around me in the description box below. They're all linked, and of course all the other fantastic content creators out there for the game outside myself. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go over the banners that are going to be featured alongside Divine Diabolos, what they contain, because it's a little bit different than we're used to, and we're actually going to talk about Machina to begin with. Now, the first banner is going to contain Machina's LD and his EX and his gear, Maria's EX, Pain's EX, and just Ramza's burst. It's not going to have Ramza's LD in it. Where we've had two banners before that both featured a particular character's LD, this time, now they only feature one, and featured in one of the banners. The other banner will feature someone else entirely. Then the second banner will feature all of Ramza's gear, so his burst, his LD, his EX, etc. And then Ida and Freya's EXs. So you're going to need to make some choices. If you already have Machina, then obviously you don't need to pull on that particular banner, and you can just go straight in for Ramza. But if you don't have him already, or his full gear, then you might want to start making some choices between them. Now, to talk about Machina quickly, if you haven't used him before, the primary function for Machina is to just use a lot of turns up, spamming attacks for free and getting follow-ups on a lot of his attacks while inflicting minor debuffs and just taking turn after turn after turn after turn of dealing lots of damage. Now, he gets obviously one of the first LD call and LD boards. So, what this does, now Stunning Slash before was an LD attack that put a debuff on your opponent so that it made it so that you had a follow-up attack on every attack you did with Machina up until that debuff ran out, and it also gave you free skill uses. So you then have a free skill use of his Awakening, which was also a free turn and an instant turn, and then you'd get the follow-up on that, and then you'd get another choice of whatever attack you wanted to do, and then you get the follow-up on that. So you could just go attack, 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 and you can see where I'm going with it. So the LD Call ability makes the actual Stunning Slash a lot stronger. It also inflicts the Spiral's Linchpin, which is the LD debuff that you get that causes the follow-ups before the attack, which means that you'll get the follow-up attack on Stunning Slash, and it also makes it a 3-hit Brave HP attack followed by a 5-hit Brave HP attack and makes it stronger, so it's going to deal a much wider amount of damage, and you get 2 HP dumps on it. And whenever you're doing the follow-up attack, so whenever you're doing the Spiral's Linchpin 4-hit attack afterwards, you're going to gain Bravery beforehand. I think it might be 6 hits actually, but you're going to gain Bravery before you do the attacking, so you're going to be able to deal a lot more damage generally. And here he obviously has an LD Call ability. Now, this looks very complicated, and there's a lot of text there, but it's basically just the call attack that you would have already had. So it's going to inflict Spiral's Linchpin just like the Stunning Slash would normally. However, don't be confused and think that you're going to get the Spiral's Linchpin attack off of every attack the caller does, because it doesn't trigger off of that. What this is designed to do is it's designed to use the LD call ability so that you inflict the Spiral's Linchpin, and then you're meant to use the other cool ability, so Cyclone Drive, in order to kind of get a combo of a 1-2 punch, because you can actually equip two different, you can equip, have both of that and the regular cool ability, as opposed to having to just have one of them. So it means you're supposed to use one and then the other so that you get the follow-up attack, and it's a nice amount of damage. Do I think that Machina is worth pulling for? Not if you're low on resources and you want Ramza. Like, Machina is a fun character to play. He has a lot of turns, but he has a lot of turns, and in the era of Lufenia, that's not necessarily a good thing. And he's definitely a very fun character to play with. Like, I pulled for him the first time around because I was waiting for this point for the LD boards to come out, because I knew how much damage he could churn out, and because Divine Diabolos is a single target, like, the nature of that fight is, like, basically just abuse him as much as you can, and it's quite easy to sort of replenish the orb if you've got the right characters. I look forward to using Machina for that, but I honestly don't think that he's worth pulling for on his own unless you get Ramza really easily, because there are a lot of damage dealers, and a lot of them are more sort of turn efficient, because they don't take up turns from the Lufenia orb, than Machina. So now we move on to Ramza. Now, honestly, I don't really know where to start with Ramza, because he gets a lot from this banner. He has a burst, he has an LD, he has a rework, he's just got everything that you would want him to, and it turns him into a literal support Swiss Army knife. Now, if you haven't used Ramza before, Ramza's primary function is a attack-based support character. So he boosts his own stats very strongly by using Shout, and once he gets to 3 levels of Shout, he then gains a really strong HP plus attack that it doesn't increase your turn count, so you can just use it and it not affect your turn count at all, and that's fantastic. However, now it's got a rework, and now it instantly breaks whatever enemy you're hitting with it, and then it triggers a 3-hit Brave HP attack to boot. So not only is he getting his stats buffed up by this Shout buff, he's now using it in an offensive manner that's really powerful, so he's getting a lot out of that, and he still has the crazy HP plus that he's had before, where you're just not adding to the turn count, so he's so turn efficient, and he always has been. And then Galvanize is a party-wide buff that gives attack and bravery gen as a single buff that got reworked the last time, called Pep, so it doesn't take up quite as much as you would think, but it gives you attack up and bravery gen. Now, when you use Pep, it increases your max bravery and attack for each level that you'd get it, and now, as a rework thing, you now recovers your HP while you're at it. So the one thing that Ramza couldn't do was heal your party for HP. Well, now he can, and now you haven't got to worry about that either. You also get a Brave Attack plus off of it, but it's very unlikely you're ever going to use this because his HP plus is so powerful already. Then we move on to his EX, and his EX is also really good. It has an insanely fast EX recast rate. It inflicts a framed debuff called Innovate, which lowers attack speed and defense, and it also batteries the party. Like, everything that Ramza does batteries the party, all of his skills do. It's really good stuff. And then when he got his EX plus and the 3 out of 3, it massively boosted him again. So basically, when you're using Innovate, you would deal splash damage and inflict Innovate to all targets. So given the fact that you would gain a lot of bravery beforehand as well, you'd be dealing a decent amount of damage with Ramza, as well as the fact you're getting this framed debuff and getting the battery on top of it. And then it actually gave the HP plus 2 hits. It now has 3, thanks to the rework. And then he got massive stat buffs from it all. And then Innovate, it got its own plus and plus versions as long as he had his Shout buffs up. So when Shout was at 3 levels, it gave 6 hits to Innovate, so you'd have a pretty big attack with splash damage and a frame debuff on it, and then it would also increase the amount of HP damage, splash damage that was dealt, and then you'd also just get a large amount of damage out of it. The main thing you want out of this is the fact that it's a fast attacking, like a fast recast EX, and it actually does a decent amount of damage. It's not like spectacular damage, but the amount you get out of it is worthwhile. Now we come to his LD. Now this LD is really something special. Now his LD, is a 4-hit Brave HP attack that's delivered twice, so it means you get 2 HP dumps, which is fantastic, because if you put him with anyone else that has Bravery Battery in them, like Rude or Firion, etc., you're just going to have a lot of damage there. It delays all enemies by a turn when you use it. It also gives him Shout and Pep, like one of each of those. It also is a guaranteed launch for the party as well. And it also has another framed special effect called Sunset Leaf Flute. And if you've played FF Tactics, then you'll know what that's significant of. And it also, which means that it raises your party's initial bravery. Bear in mind that one of his main effects is Brave Regen, so that's massively beneficial. It increases the party's gain Brave Overflow by 30%, so that's Overflow is like the name of the game these days. And it has another level of Brave Regen on top of the one that he already has, which is pretty crazy. So basically you're hitting really high numbers, you get the delay and launch, and you get the buffs, and then you're also going to get a battery back for the party after you do it, because a lot of attacks do these days. It's just a very loaded LD. It just does so many things at once, it's very difficult to not love. And not only that, but Ramza actually gets a burst as well. And like, because you only get 3 uses of the Winter Storm, it is really nice to get an extra one from a burst attack. And obviously, Ramza is one of the characters that benefits most from that, because he has a party-wide buff that comes from it. And it's a 100% AoE 15-hit Brave HP attack, and it has a really powerful burst effect. It's one that people don't talk about as much as you'd like, because it raises initial bravery, max bravery, and attack by 5% per buff on your party. So that's up to 90% increases on your stats, which is huge. And it also increases the max brave damage limit by 2% per buff, up to an additional 3,600 damage on your bravery hits. So if you're pairing him with somebody like Cloud, who already hits like a truck, he's going to hit even harder and even more. Like, it's just, there's a lot of offensive stats there to take note of. Honestly, the biggest thing I can say against Ramza, there's not an awful lot, to be honest, but the biggest thing I can say against Ramza is that he has a similar problem to Beatrix, in that he does grant a lot of party-wide buffs all at once. And obviously, in his Lufenia, that's a great thing, but that's not always going to make it easy to make teams around him. But honestly, I think that his benefits far outweigh his detriments, and like I said, his hit counts aren't the highest in all of the stuff that he does, except for his LD, but his LD is so loaded with other effects, it would be completely remiss to skip him. So with some characters, when they have their LD boards, you'll notice they don't actually do an awful lot to them. You often find that LD board characters are best with characters that have already had their LD and are getting a rework through their LD board, because the LD board for Ramza's is basically just more damage, like more overflow limit, you get more refund back when you use it, and you get some bravery potency. So it's not exciting, but you're still going to want to pick it up. In terms of his core abilities, they are really useful, because Galvanize is a great thing to have at all, just on tap at any time, because you get the attack up in the Brave Regen for your party, which is extremely useful, and you get party HP healing and the battery on top of it as well. You don't, however, get the attack after, or get any attack after it, because Galvanize doesn't actually have one. However, the LD call ability is one of the most popular LD call abilities around, because it is a AoE attack that delays all targets by a turn, just like his LD does, and it has launch on top of it. So instead of taking, say, Cloud or Dark Knight Cecil for their launch abilities, both of which are fantastic with Ramza for obvious reasons, you can have a delay-based chase attack, so you're definitely going to get that extra character in on the chase attack. So it's just a really useful one to have. In terms of his high armor, his escutcheon is nice, like party attack plus 5%. It's always one of those ones where I'm always a little bit iffy on it, because you're not realistically taking Ramza for his damage output, you're taking it for the fact that it's got so many of these buffs that come with him and all the extra little bits and pieces. And then in terms of artifacts, attack, definitely want attack. A lot of his stuff scales off of attack. And then his Mightiest Squire boost is nice because it raises all of his stats nicely. But you could settle for like max bravery instead if you wanted to. So when it comes to the fights itself, if you want to know anything more about Divine Summons, how to farm them, what you get out of them, etc. I do already have a video on that, so definitely go back through my recent videos and check that if you want to know more about how to farm Divine Diabolos. However, for the Lufenia mission, things are slightly different. Now, the Lufenia orb appears at the start of the fight until they're around 80% out, until you take them below 80% HP, and then it disappears until 50% HP, and it will reappear until the end of the fight. And the way that you get around this is by granting 6 or more buffs in one go. Now, there are plenty of characters that can actually do this. Now, obviously, Ramza is a big choice for this, and the fight is very much designed around Ramza, not so much Machina. But Machina is still very useful for this because of his ability to just churn out damage. But Ramza has the ability to grant 6 buffs at once by using Galvanize. He also has the ability through his LDs. He also has another thing that serves well for him when it comes to the actual fight itself and some of the mechanics behind it. However, there's plenty of alternatives to him that can grant that many number of buffs. So Penelo is a fantastic shout for it. Beatrix, although I wouldn't necessarily use her, and I'll get to why in a moment. Saz can do it. Selfie can even do it, as Tombury Troop has said in their infographic. Definitely go and check theirs out if you haven't already. Even if you haven't seen them in my videos before, but basically, you have to be able to give at least 2 buffs to each party member at once, and those characters will all do that. At certain HP thresholds, Diabolos will get a darker aura, so it's like it starts with an aura but it gets bigger, and basically what this does is he sets himself up to a instant kill. And he does this, and he delays himself, he makes himself completely debuff immune for that period of time, and he absorbs all elemental damage. So avoid taking any kind of elemental damage if you can help it, including, of course, Beatrix. Now, in order to get rid of this, you need to deal over 200,000 damage into his HP during a launch. So basically, Ramza comes in again here. This would be the point where you're supposed to use Ramza's LD launch attack in order to get that done, because then you'll be able to get the delay, the HP damage off, and then it will get rid of it. But there are other characters you can obviously take for this as well. Noctis is fantastic for this because he has the turn manipulation on top of it. There's still a single target fight, and I'll get to more on that in a moment. Cloud is obviously very good for this. If you wanted to bring Kais along, or Dark Knight Cecil you have to be very careful with, though, because of the dark elemental damage, and therefore it can get really screwy, so perhaps take a different launcher than him. But Cloud is very good, Kais is very good, obviously Ramza is very good. Many of the clears that you will see for this fight will use Ramza. And then he also has another aura that if he gets his recast attack off, that increases any HP damage he deals. This is similar to actually the Chaos fight we had with him with the Ultimate Diabolos, and he also reduces the amount of damage that he takes, and this will last for 2 turns. You can use Cloud to paralyze, then it will still take 2 turns even if he doesn't actually take it, but you've got ways around it otherwise, or if you can just reduce the amount of damage that you are taking, then fantastic. Because it's a single target fight, this is actually very easy to sort of delay, turn manipulate, paralyze, delete turns. A Middeltelian is actually fantastic for this as long as you've got a way around the debuff cleansing and debuff immunity, so you can reapply them so that Middeltelian is still doing damage. There's a lot of things that you can do. Just take the fact that it's a single target fight and run with it. So there's loads of things that you can do. Noctis, Cloud, Ramza. As long as you've got the right characters, this actually isn't as difficult and big and scary as it looks. So now we come to the big question of the banners. Should you be pulling for either Ramza or Machina? In the case of Machina, I'd say that if you enjoy him, he's a character you can have a lot of fun with, because he's got these crazy free turn comps where you could just keep going, sticking with Noctis, follow-ups for days. You can do a lot of fun things with him. However, I don't think that he outlasts the competition in terms of actual use in things. He's definitely capable of clearing Lufenias, but he's quite clunky because he takes so many free turns that the orbs just tick down really quickly, and things can get out of hand quite fast. Ramza, on the other hand, I think is very worth your resources. Ramza just has raw power as a support character. He gives you everything you could want. In terms of actual support, you've got Brave Regen out of your backside, attack boosts, max Brave boosts, all that fit within your composition well, and that's before you even get to the Sunset Leaf Flute. The LD has delaying and launching. He can instant break now with his shout. He can, and that cannot be understated enough. Instant break on a skill that you just get is just really powerful. Like, you can't turn that down. He also has a really strong HP+++ because it doesn't add to turns. You want to talk about turn efficiency? Ramza's got it. His call abilities are really good. Like, a delay slash launch in one move is a good move, and the fact that his other call is actually relatively useful as well, it's hard to pass it up. So if you're gonna pull for here, I would definitely suggest you pull for Ramza over Machina, because he's just gonna last that much longer. They're both decent characters. Well, Machina's decent. Ramza's really good. Like, in terms of the burst as well, a lot of people will probably skip Guy, which is one of the characters that will come on there. And then Caius, people are like hesitant on because the main reason you pull for him is his call ability. Balthea obviously has thrown a spanner in the works for this, so maybe you want to sit out this banner and wait until Balthea comes along, because there are characters that you can replace Ramza for, like Beatrix or the Fury and Rude combination. Obviously, Fury and Rude take up 2 slots, and they are actually very different. No one quite has as much of a consolidated kit as Ramza does, but there are characters that are more specific in what they do, and they're better at it. But if you want just a one-size-fits-all support character, you can't really go wrong with Ramza, and that's not even factoring in the fact that his burst ability for a support character really is quite powerful. And then finally, it's time for Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to vote on whether you would or wouldn't pull on any particular banner and why. Now, I was intelligent and I put up this Would You Pull poll before the community stream happened, so that so do try and bear in mind that this is all information before we got wind of what was coming, but honestly, I don't think it would have changed even with Balthea's arrival. So 69.4% of players, or my patrons, so thank you very much as once again for casting your votes and leaving your comments, have said yes, they're going to be pulling on Ramza with gems. So a lot of people pulling on gems. It's a very hype banner for a lot of people. 27.8% said they were going to use tickets on this banner, and honestly, I'm actually in this camp. Because I have a decent amount of tickets, and because Divine Diabolos is going to give us so many of them, there's honestly very few reasons not to at least pull something on this banner. But because of Balthea, and because I want to try and stockpile gems as best I can, I'm actually only going for the LD here, because it's a character I would use burst tokens on if I had to. But 27.8%, like I said yes to tickets, and then only, I will say, very, very few people at all said that they were going to pull at all. 3%, in fact. So there's very few people saying that they're not going to pull on this banner at all. So, going into some of the comments. So, Boopah Wiggum says he's going in with tickets. Not a favourite, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. If I don't get him, I'm sure I'll still survive, as I've been quite lucky recently. Going all in on Guy as well, so I only need the LD here. So it's interesting to see somebody who's really excited to go for Guy as well, because Guy is actually a very defensive support character with Earth Enchant in Peril as well. So, honestly, if you're excited about either Guy, Caius, or Balthea, then consider just going for the LD here. But because it's a burst character, it's 2 weeks worth of synergy, which in my opinion usually says at least they're worth something. They're worth pulling at least a little bit. Anthony says, I definitely want him. Currently not sure how I'm pulling yet. Dark Knight Cecil wasn't very kind to me with my tickets. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get the LD, but if it doesn't, I'm willing to go to gems. I'm also not sure that there's going to be any free pulls during this banner or any of this block. Well, we have a confirmation as well now that we don't have free pulls during this banner, so that's something to bear in mind. It's the anniversary, so there's a chance they could give us a bunch again. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I don't want to go nuts with gems and then get a burst and then possibly get it for free on Caius or Guy. Now, this is true because while there are no free pulls on Ramza's banners, there are on Caius, Guy, and Balthea, all of which feature Ramza's burst. So consider that before you start going trigger happy with your gems, because every time I release a video or anything when it comes to a burst character, I always say go for the LD first, go for the LD first, then wait for the burst, and then go in for that afterwards if it's something you want. Kazira says, yes, I most certainly will be pulling for Ramza. I've been building up a gem stash to spend on him since Lightning, which is the last banner I've used gems on. Aside from being a great unit for Divine Diabolos, he's an incredible support unit in general. I managed to grab Variance Burst with Ticket as well, so I have the burst tokens ready for Ramza if I need them. See, now I'll say, I think that most people want Ramza in some capacity. He's just that useful. He's just, like, there's nothing wrong with him. He just does so many things all at once. And then finally, ABC says, as if healing, battery, and the existing auras weren't enough, now we can launch, delay, and jack up the auras. Awesome. 100% pulling, but I have no idea yet whether I'm using gems or tickets. I really want that burst, but I don't want to spend gems. Very much in the same boat here. Like, I will have that burst one way or another, but I think I'm gonna go tickets for the LD, see how the free calls go, and then if I have to, I will spend burst tokens on that burst if I need it. So that's going to be everything from me regarding Ramza, Machina and Diabolos. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've stayed up extra late to make this one after I've made my community stream recap, which was all the hype, so thank you if you've already watched that. And that's why I'm wearing the same t-shirt as I was wearing on that video. But thank you very much once again. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell for notifications on any future videos I might be making. And come on down to my Twitch channel as well, because I'll be streaming plenty of Diabolos and Ramza and all that good stuff, hopefully. Because I've been on a good luck streak recently, don't ruin it now. So, and then we'll be playing that all together as well. So thank you all very much again, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, bye bye.